everybody. This is Tracy Swedlow, and this is Televisionation. This is our new video show podcast to bring the TV industry together around the world. It's the TV Nation, State of the TV Nation, and I'm very excited to have one of the premier women in the industry. Everybody knows Jane Clarke, who's the CEO of CIMM, otherwise known as the Coalition for Innovative Media Measurement, which is the URL, by the way, is cimm.us.org. Welcome to the show, Jane.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Here is your logo. I just want to show everybody what that is. Okay, great. All right, so so much to discuss: data, measurement, tracking, brands, advertising. Everything is being sort of blown up and reinvented. But first, I want to find out how you're doing. How are you doing in your home office, or what's going on?
I'm doing very well. I think my husband and I are very experienced at social distancing and working from home because we live kind of out in the country, and we're far away from New York City, where I do have to say that one of my daughters has already had coronavirus, she and her boyfriend, and they recovered in 5 days, 6 days.
Wow.
And it was relatively mild, and they're fine. They're moving on, and it wasn't, luckily, that big a deal for them.
Well, now they're not,
unlike it is for others. Yes, we hope they're immune now.
Yeah, maybe immune. So maybe they can go out and have fun and party. No, I mean, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
No, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's a little nervous about it because they're not entirely sure that you can't get a relapse. So I think it's still new territory.
Well, I'm glad they recovered. Very, very happy about that. And where can you tell me where you are? Are you on Long Island or upstate? Or
I'm about 45 minutes northwest of the George Washington Bridge in New York State. It's called Tuxedo Park. So it's near all the Harriman State Park and Bear Mountain and Sterling Forest. It's a lot of lakes and hiking and mountains out here.
Sounds dreamy. Very, very dreamy. I'm glad you're not, I mean, your daughter recovered, but us older people.
Yeah.
Anyway, we hope everybody in New York gets through this as much as possible, right? So, okay, so but I wanted to ask you because as I recall, CIMM was founded in Montreal, but you're based in the U.S. Wasn't it founded in
No, always New York. It was always in New York. It was the TV networks, media buying agencies, and a handful of large advertisers. It was actually, they founded, originally they had the idea during the last recession, 2008, 2009. And then they hired me in 2010. So we're into our 11th year here.
Well, you're always such an important person at conferences. People want to hear what you've got to say. Of course, you've participated at TVOT many times, and we're very grateful to bring your insight and analysis into the measure, to talk about the measurement industry or the TV industry as measured. So, so much to discuss in the age of COVID, where everybody's getting online to watch more and more video. So, and there's so many conflicting issues going on. More TVs being watched on all platforms. People are trying to figure out how to market their brands. More data is being collected, and we're going to go through all that. And yet, you have the history. You have a history of collecting and managing data, or the science of that. Can you tell me a little bit about? Let's see. Let's put that slide up here. Oh, that's your website, by the way. I just wanted people to take a look quickly.
Yeah, there's those bars that are across the middle there. Those are two really good reports that you can download. One's about TV attribution, and the other is about how addressable TV is changing the measurement for national TV measurement. It kind of breaks the Nielsen ratings. So those are two really good reports you can download for free.
Okay, great. Just right there in the middle, in those purple bars, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that your previous experience or in managing, the techniques of gathering data, right? How is that going to come into play now? How is that going to be a really powerful tool for all of these broadcasters? Tell me a little bit about how you think data is going to impact the world now, going forward, in order to help people innovate, perhaps.
Right. Well, I think Tracy, from the wonderful TVOT show that we all love to come to every year, that there's been a huge revolution in TV data over the last 10 years or so. And what I'm seeing here is that a crisis is actually accelerating this change, because everyone's seeing the value of all of this new data that's available to react quickly and to kind of optimize and reallocate your ad spend, and for the networks to kind of reallocate their content planning and their scheduling in this environment. Because I've been hearing that the network ad sales guys are working 12, 15-hour days, trying to move around and reallocate, and they're using data to do this, because they now have very granular TV data from smart TVs and from set-top boxes that they didn't used to have, when we only had the Nielsen ratings, based on 25, 30, 40,000 homes max. Now you can go in and you can find out where all those people that were watching live sports, where are they now? How can I reach that same audience when I can't buy that live sports, for my advertising anymore? And, it's also, you get these data back very quickly on the smart TVs. It's a little slower for the set-top box data, but the smart TV data comes in overnight. And it's really helping, everyone have a much more granular appreciation across the whole country of what's happening and what the trends are, and where to reallocate spend, where the audiences are. Because what TV data does is it brings this whole new form of, trying to plan and buy television advertising, is because now you've got data that you can match to other forms of data outside of the TV viewing data sets, and you can find your audiences in a much more granular way.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, because I want to make sure I understand, you're saying basically that they're comparing the data for people who were maybe watching a sports game at 7 o'clock or whatever it was on whatever network, and now what are they doing? What are those same people doing?
Yeah, so
they're looking at this brand show, they're looking at this brand, they're seeing that commercial, and where are they navigating? So you're able to, you're basically, it's like an attribution bonanza. You know?
Yes, completely. And that can be used not only for advertisers, but for the networks and their own marketing and promotion and planning. So for instance, you can go in, March Madness was canceled. You can go now to a year ago and look at the granular TV data as to who was watching March Madness a year ago. And now you can go and find those very same kinds of people, those segments of people. This isn't like one-to-one. It's not kind of a creepy tracking of people and what they're watching. It's a segmented viewing. Yeah, right. So you can find, March Madness viewers, and what are they doing today as a group? Where can I find them?
Have you gotten any insights, or are the networks telling you anything, or do you see this passing on your desk? I mean, how transparent is all this? I want to see a chart.
Yeah, no, actually, I can't really tell you where they're finding them. I just know they're doing all this, and they're doing the reallocations. Everyone's different, every network's got their secret sauce of how they're finding it and showing their clients where to reallocate their dollars. I mean, the interesting thing here is that luckily the TV industry has a little bit of an insurance policy here, because digital spending, there's a lot of small businesses that buy advertising on Google and Facebook. And Google and Facebook are getting hit very hard right now, because it's easy for those small businesses to just pull their advertising in digital. Unlike in television, where you have these, 60 to 70% of the dollars get allocated in the upfront, a year ago. and you have a contract. So you have a contractual relationship where you have to buy this advertising from that network. So they have to find a way to accommodate you. It's very difficult for a marketer to just completely pull all their advertising at this point in time.
But you wonder, like, how are these brands going to be nimble to go to put themselves out there? Are they just pumping their same ads, or are they COVID empathetic ready? Or, I mean, are you getting a sense of what they're doing over the entire industry? Are you hearing what the strategy is? Because if they're not able to pull that stuff, what are they doing to seem relevant?
Yeah, it's a big issue, and I think a lot of marketers are scrambling. Some of them are and especially because there's if you look at these ads, they can be illustrating behaviors that are so inappropriate now, like shaking hands, being in large groups, hugging and kissing, all of that. So I think they're all having to scramble and see if they can find creatives that fit into this current environment, that aren't offensive, that are sort of neutral, and many of them, if they have kind of purpose driven ads, or any kind of purpose driven campaigns, they're trying to pull those out and run those, and just making sure that there isn't a juxtaposition in the middle of some very serious, business, or just news on CNN or MSNBC, one of those networks, or on some of the, news shows on the broadcast networks. I think they just are trying to make sure that the juxtaposition of their advertising against the serious news isn't a problem. A lot of marketers try to pull out of, bad news. They don't want to have their brands associated with bad news. But the history has shown that if you pull your TV advertising during a recession, that it does not help your brand in the long run. Brands that stay in and or increase have, over the long run, grown and seen much better improvements in their growth over the long run. So I think it's really a matter of just figuring out how you can change your messaging, how you can do. I mean, I've been really impressed with the people that have actually changed their product, like the Louis Vuitton, what's that company that, I'm sorry, am I getting the spirits company that completely redid a bunch of the spirits companies that are.
You mean alcohol? You mean spirits?
Yeah, alcohol spirits that are retooling their
vodka, whiskey.
Yeah, they're retooling all their plants to produce hand sanitizer, and they're putting out ads about that. And it's just to do that, so to be agile enough to do that.
Wow.
And to be able to put out an ad that shows that you're doing that. It's amazing to me.
Whiskey, vodka, sanitizer. Is it?
Yeah, what's that? LVMH is one of the brands that's doing that. Yeah. And there's some very funky brands that are doing it, and they're branding. They're labeling it with their kind of funky alcoholic brand, but they're calling it hand sanitizer.
Is it going to smell like alcohol? I mean, is it going to smell like rum, or like vodka or tequila? I can see that would sell.
I've heard some jokes about that, but I haven't smelled any of it yet.
Tequila sanitizers. Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. So in the measurement business, though, since you have all that stuff, and you're still working out to build out standards, right? That's pretty much what CIMM is involved in, right? Is trying to make sure right? Am I saying?
Well, yeah, our two big missions are to bring, more cross-platform TV video measurement to the industry, and to bring more granular measurement into television. And they're kind of interrelated, because you can't really do full cross-platform measurement for all forms of TV and video without having granular TV data. And what's happening is that the TV networks are trying to move to, creating platforms where they actually have all this data across all of their different forms of TV and video. And there's so many different forms of TV and video now. It's not just linear TV and, time shifted TV. There's addressable TV, there's VOD, there's all the different forms of digital, OTT, digital video. They're trying to get to the point where they can put all this inventory into the same platforms and to deduplicate it, using ID graphs. And where we are now is that all the different networks are doing this themselves, within their own network families, and they're all going to the upfront this year with offerings to do that, where they're able to deduplicate between digital and all the forms of television within their own inventory. Where I'm hoping that we'll get to in the next year is to be able to do that across the whole industry, so that an advertiser could really come in and make that comparison and get deduplicated reach across TV, all of TV.
But are there any efforts that you know of that where these companies are looking for other types of platforms that they haven't used before, or other apps, perhaps? Maybe it's too soon, but we're seeing a lot of networks and social networks and the established networks maybe branching online using apps to organize people. Yeah. Their watch parties. I mean, I know that Netflix has started watch parties, and of course you can't get into Netflix, but there's a lot of innovation going on that it's hard to get your brain around. There's so much happening. Where you might incorporate Zoom, who knows? But I'm just kind of curious, have you heard any rumblings about companies who are looking for other types of apps they haven't used before to measure people's activity in association with watching television on all of the devices? I just think there's a lot of overlap going on because everybody has a digital device, in their hand. Maybe that's why I had this bullet point: audiences and overlapping devices. Here. Yeah. No, this is the heart of it. I saw a really interesting note the other day. I think you should get Trevor Noah to come speak at TVOT. He created this social distancing, the daily social distancing show. Oh, and, yeah. He started it as a digital, live stream, and now he's going back to television. And I haven't been able to completely follow, how much is online and how much is on television. But that's why you need these new measurement tools, because you have to be able to combine all of that. If a marketer wants to buy it, and even if they want to plan how to get to bring audiences to this, they have to know, should we be doing our tune-in advertising on television to get them to go to digital, or should we be doing it on digital to get them to come back to television, or do TV viewers tend to watch tune-in on television and then watch on television, and digital do it only within digital? There's a lot of questions that people have, and how much people are going back and forth or kind of staying within one medium. And the only way you can answer all those questions is if you're able to pull together that data. And in many cases, the networks own some of these data now themselves. Have you seen any efforts to take the data they've already got? And you already mentioned this sort of retooling your products, but have you seen any networks retooling or using their data to generate new marketing efforts, new advertising efforts to drive you to their content?
Yeah, no, I have seen, one of the big network groups. I don't know if I can really mention who they are, but they have a platform like this where they have a lot of the granular TV data. They have their all their app data. They're putting it together, and they're testing all kinds of things about how do you push people back and forth from digital to television. How are you reaching the light TV viewers in digital, and how do you what kind of content should you be making for them in digital versus trying to drive them back to television? It's a completely new game for the networks, because they have so many ways to get their content out, and so many opportunities to offer marketers to reach different kinds of people, that they really need these kind of data planning platforms to put it all together.
Do you feel that after they collect all this data, or maybe they need to, I'm sure they're considering it now, but to what extent do you think that this will drive or force people to innovate, come up with new formats, new types of advertising? Do you think that they have to do that? Or do you think once this is all over, hopefully, right, that people just go back to their normal ways of doing things? Or do you think we're going to be moving into a new age of television, measurement, tracking, multiple, even more platforms than ever before?
Yeah, no, like I said in the beginning, that the crisis accelerates change. I think we'll see changes coming out of this time when, look at what are we doing? We're all talking to each other on our computers, and there's all this streaming, and you have entertainers performing on, live on Zoom at night. I mean, there's so many options of things that now we can, watch via streaming because we can't go out and see anything in person. I think it's going to change an awful lot. And I think there's marketers who are adapting. Someone was telling me that they listened to Nike's earnings call the other day, and just the thing that Nike is doing to become more of a digitally based direct to consumer, online delivery, offering their products to be able to ship directly to consumers. I mean, I think everybody from the media companies to the marketers are having to make these changes of how do you now live in this new world, and the ones that had already started doing this are farther along now.
That's I think really well said. I mean, I think I'm even volunteering too much here, but I'm going to be helping someone produce a film festival, a virtual film festival tomorrow night at 8:00.
There you go. That's so cool.
And it's called the Bridge Virtual Film Festival. And then I did a live auction, a video auction using this same kind of idea. And I'm talking about myself, but I just did a whole thing with a bunch of students who are learning how to make television and film. I participated in a roundtable discussion of show and tell and an analysis. And I think, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I'm kind of interested in it. I'm going to be driving a sort of film night discussion, with a group of people, in a nonprofit setting. So, I mean, there's so much to do.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Great new formats.
It's what?
Great new formats for entertainment and information. It's terrific.
Well, there are more. There are more things that I have said that I would do. Doing all of this stuff, I don't want to bore you all with all of the.
Well, no, Tracy, if there's anything we know about you, I've been going to your conference for 10 years, and it's always about innovation.
Oh, thanks. Well, one thing I mean, if you've been to my show, I'm sure you were there that year. I'd have to remember, but I was developing a musical, right? And even
I remember that.
Had a performance of one of the songs that I had developed for my musical. So I'm going to help an entity here in town do a distributed musical. So there you go. There's more. Okay, but that's fun stuff. But for the industry, we're really trying to connect the industry, and we're going to be doing more. Speaking of which, to do that, we'll be announcing that soon with other virtual events coming up. So much going on. What else would you like to tell everybody about how you guys are keeping, CIMM? I mean, like, you guys are, I'm sure you're not busy. I mean, I can't imagine. You're probably more busy than you ever were before doing this.
Well, yeah, I will say that CIMM's always been kind of virtual. We've always offered a virtual option to all of our meetings and conference calls. And I will say that with everyone home, you definitely have people's attention even more. And they're kind of really pushing a lot of the initiatives that we've been working on. So I've had a couple of calls in the last week with some ideas for new projects, and people want to move ahead. We have one about, we've been trying to do some work on combining smart TV data and set-top box data so that you can get a better nationally representative data set of kind of all the different kinds of TV data. There's ways that they both complement each other. And so we've gotten a proposal for that. We're working on that. There's even a new panel that's launching in the TV industry to try to.
But what is it doing?
Well, they have a kind of if you were Nielsen starting today, you might have a much more high tech kind of meter. They've created a meter that has 8 HDMI ports that you can plug in all your devices. And,
I have one right here. I have something like that right here.
And they want to do a pilot test this year.
Wow.
CIMM may or may not be able to afford working with them, but we're very supportive of what they're doing. It's called Persona Core. And then there's this initiative that I've mentioned where a bunch of the networks and media buying agencies and tech companies and advertisers are looking at creating, a TV platform that can then, really better meet marketers' needs for deduplicating reach across all of TV. And there's another big initiative that the marketers are pushing this year from the World Federation of Advertisers, where they're trying to better deduplicate television against Google and Facebook, the big digital platforms. And CIMM's been somewhat involved in that, particularly on this TV side of it, trying to help to get a more granular TV data platform to feed into that.
Are you guys pulling in data from Google, Facebook, and Twitter?
We're not actually doing that, but the initiative from the World Federation of Advertisers, the WFA, which will happen in the US through the ANA, the Association of National Advertisers, they're going to create a pilot test where Google and Facebook are actually working together to try to find ways to allow their data to go into safe rooms and be deduplicated in very privacy compliant ways, and also combined with television and other digital platforms. So the industry is really pushing that forward, and I think we will start to see some real innovation in that in the next 6 to 12 months.
You think that's when they'll actually put out some data by then? They'll actually tell you what's happening, or they'll just be done getting it in place? I mean,
yeah, I think that we might start to see pilot test data. That's but so all these things can be done while people are still working from home. All of this. Google and I was surprised to hear actually that Facebook is not a big work from home company, but Google's a big work from home company.
Well, they own all the screens, right? They own all the Google Classroom, the sheets, the docs, it's
Hangouts, the everything. Yeah.
Everything.
So, but I think Facebook will catch up pretty quickly here. But I think that there are nothing stopping people from pushing all this forward. Everyone can still have video conferences and talk about all of this and move things forward. So I don't see this current crisis changing a lot of that. And, hopefully the financial side of it will, sort itself out so that people don't pull back investment, in new measurement just because they, are having tough times. That's the only concern I might have. But I haven't seen that yet. I think people, they need to be more efficient. They need to be more effective. They need to spend their money wisely for the advertiser point of view, and the media companies need to help them to do that. So I think they're all pushing towards how can we be more efficient as an industry? How can we have better standards? How can we be more, kind of effective and have better use of data? It's a kind of a messy industry now. There's not a lot of even some of the things that CIMM does to standardize, like using the same identifiers across all different kinds of file formats and standardizing metadata and all of these rather mundane plumbing level initiatives that we try to push forward. I see a lot more support for that now because marketers, they don't want a lot of waste around here, and so they are really trying to push for the whole TV ecosystem to be faster, more efficient, more data driven, more automated, is where it's all heading. So
sounds to me like, this is the time, if you want to stay in the business, you've got to get in the business. And it might be messy, but you need to come in and be supportive and help sort it all out. As always, the people who are out the door first are the ones that are the leaders later, right? So I think that's a good place to end. A good, hopeful, positive note from you to jump in. So if there's anything else you'd like to say, I'm ready for my what's the day? Thursday. I'm ready to call it a day. myself.
I'll just say thank you for doing this. I think you're terrific, and you are so innovative, and this is a wonderful idea. So thanks for including me.
Thank you, Jane, for all that you do for the industry. We can't do this without you. Jump in. Don't sit in your silos out there. This is Televisionation, and this, of course, is Jane Clarke, CEO of CIMM, or the Coalition for Innovative Media Measurement. I need to say that 50 times. Coalition for Innovative Media Measurement. We need a CIMM t-shirt, Jane. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Take care and see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
TVOT.